What's up, everybody? Welcome to the new Trailer Park, the movie review show that focuses on the trailers of the movies. I'm your host, Richard Barlow, and if I do say so myself, this is looking pretty good. I like it. I like what's going on here. So this is it. This is the new Trailer Park. The layout of the show itself is also going to change a bit, but you will see that soon. So without further ado, let's just get to it with this week's movie review of Captain Marvel.
War is a universal language.
So I'm not gonna lie, this isn't my favorite Marvel movie. It's still a good movie, I won't deny that, but it just, it didn't quite hit like some of the others did. My main problem lays with Captain Marvel herself, Brie Larson. For most of the movie, I just wasn't feeling her. I couldn't put my finger on whether it was the character or Brie Larson's portrayal of her. I didn't know what it was that wasn't hitting for me. But some of her humorous moments just didn't work. She's supposed to, I think, what they were going for is like this kind of like, not cocky, but you know, her humor and stuff comes out of a very confident place and a very not really taking things seriously kind of stance. And it just wasn't hitting. But as the movie went on, and as she started finding herself more, and she became really badass, then it worked. So I'm hoping when we see her again in Endgame, that's where she's really going to start to shine and really start to become a character that I can fall in love with and really enjoy. And I know it's hard, you know, in the movie, she has amnesia. So like establishing a character when you as a character don't even know who you are, that's difficult. So I'm not going to put any blame for it not quite landing for me in the first half. Because like I said, in the second half, she did start to become really badass and kind of become her own, so that did start to work. You know, maybe if I watched it again, knowing how things were going to progress, maybe I wouldn't have a problem with her character in the first half. I don't know. We'll see when I watch it again.
I think I had a life here.
The story itself was really good. It does tie into things that happen in the rest of the MCU. I mean, obviously, all these movies do, but they do it well. It's not too much. It doesn't seem forced. All the 90s references and everything in it's fun. I mean, especially as a 90s kid, I really enjoyed it. All the other performances, other than like what I said when I had my problem with Brie Larson, all the other performances were great. Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, but Nick Fury's like not quite as serious in this one because he hasn't seen all the things he has when we first meet him. So he's a lot more fun. And all the supporting cast really have nice moments. So there is a lot of really good stuff in there. The villain arc in this movie I really quite enjoyed. There were things that I did kind of see coming and expect, but there were some things in there that really were kind of a nice surprise in the villain story. And of course, any superhero movie needs a good villain story to really make it work. And the villain story in this one I did think worked because there were enough surprises in there to keep it enjoyable and keep things fresh. You know, obviously you never want to go into a movie where you know everything that's going to happen. In this one, there were some things that I kind of knew going in, or like expected anyway, but there were a lot of things in there that I didn't see coming in, so that was pretty nice. Maybe someone who knows the comics would have saw it more. I'm not too familiar with Captain Marvel or her whole story in the comics, so maybe it was really obvious to other people, but to me, I didn't see it coming, and I really quite enjoyed that.
We can't do this alone.
This movie did leave me with a few questions as far as the MCU goes, but that's fine because I'm sure Marvel is going to answer them, and it's probably almost what they wanted because now it gives them more things to work with in terms of making movies, or maybe their shows for their Disney streaming service, or you know, even little shorts here and there. I don't know what their whole plan is. They always have something up their sleeve, so I'm sure they wanted these questions, but just for me, it's, you know, this movie takes place in 95, and then we don't see Nick Fury again until Iron Man in 2008 when he's first talking about the Avengers Initiative and pulling the first person on board. So what happens in those 13 years? You know, what's going on there? And are there other things that Nick Fury's trying and it just doesn't work? So there's just some questions that I have that I'm sure the MCU could answer in a lot of entertaining ways, and I'm sure they're probably planning on it. Or maybe not. Maybe, I mean, you know, it's not the end of the world if I don't know what happened in those 13 years. Maybe just nothing happened. You know, maybe he was just looking and never found someone with powers until then. But But yes, I think it creates some room for some really interesting stuff. So even though I said, this isn't my favorite Marvel movie, it doesn't mean that I didn't like it. Marvel at this point is almost like pizza. They have it down to such a fine science that even a bad Marvel movie is still an enjoyable movie. Not that I'm not saying this is a bad Marvel movie. It is quite nice. There are just things in it that didn't quite work for me. But at the end of the day, I still really liked it. And those things that didn't quite work maybe would work on a second viewing, like I said. So this is really enjoyable. I would suggest going to see it. I would suggest seeing it in theaters. I wouldn't wait until it comes to Netflix or Disney streaming service or out on DVD or whatever they're planning on doing. I would go see this in theaters while you can. A lot of interesting casting news has come out of Hollywood recently about some pretty big franchises, and to take a closer look at that, we're going to a new segment I like to call Before the Trailer. This is my new segment I like to call Before the Trailer, where we look at movie news or casting news coming out of Hollywood, and I give my opinion on those, because I just feel like I don't give my opinion enough. So here we go. Rami Malek is in final negotiations to star as the villain in the new Bond movie, still with Daniel Craig as 007, and I gotta say, I'm pretty into this. I think he'd make a great villain. I want to know if he's going to be like a tech villain, like if he's going to be kind of his Mr. Robot character, which I've never seen, so I don't know if that makes sense at all, or if he's going to, go in a different route. I think he's a great actor and he could do whatever, and I think he's got a good look and a good voice and a good everything for a Bond villain. So I am looking forward to it. The scary thing is, we had Christoph Waltz as the villain in the last one, who I think was made to be a Bond villain, and the movie still wasn't very good. So even though this casting sounds great, and I'm really on board for that, it's all going to come down to the script and the story, because it seems these new Bonds, we're going like every other one is good. And so this one we're due. The last good one we had was Skyfall, and then we had Spectre, which was not good. And so now I think it's time for a good one, and maybe Rami Malek is the answer. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out of that. In other casting news, Idris Elba is slated to replace Will Smith as Deadshot in James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie. It'll be the sequel to the last one that bombed and was so bad. But now we got James Gunn doing it because Marvel said get out. So it's going to be a very different feel, obviously, to the movie. As much as I'm into this, and I think he'd be great as Deadshot, and although it is going to be very different from Will Smith, I don't think that would be a problem. I think he's still good for the character. I like to try to avoid recasting as much as possible. And I think this is a movie that you could have done without having that character in it. It's not like you're making a new Indiana Jones movie and Harrison Ford says he's not going to do it. It's pretty hard to make an Indiana Jones movie without Indiana Jones. But there are so many other characters that you could have taken and put into the Suicide Squad that I don't think we necessarily needed Deadshot in this one. So, as much as, I'm on board with Idris Elba playing the character, I think we could have avoided that altogether and just had a different character in this one. Tons of options to go by, and then maybe in the next one, if this one's successful and we get another one, then bring in a new Deadshot. But to go right away with a new one, I think it could have been avoided. But maybe it'll be great. Only time will tell. This has been Before the Trailer. So normally in this new version of Trailer Park, each episode is going to have a movie review and a trailer review. It's just going to be one a week. I'm going to try Sunday evenings, like what I'm doing right now, and see if that works. And then there's going to be some movie news in there as well. So this would normally be a point when I've already done my movie review, so I would do a trailer review. I'm not going to do a full review. I just want to talk about the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer very quickly because I missed it when it first came out. And I just had some main thoughts on it that I wanted to get out, but it's not a full review. So basically, my thoughts on the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer is I didn't want to see that yet. I found it very underwhelming. It didn't excite me, and I love Spider-Man, and I especially love this Spider-Man and everything that the MCU has brought to this version of Spider-Man. And I was super excited for the movie to come out, but I saw this and I just feel like it wasn't time for this trailer yet. You know, we haven't even gotten Endgame. I mean, yes, we know Peter Parker's okay, Spider-Man is okay, but we don't know how, we don't know what happens. And this movie, Far From Home, takes place after the events of Endgame. And basically in it, everything seems fine. And I didn't want to see that yet. You know, I think Spider-Man is a movie that everyone who's a fan and even other people, they're like, this movie's gonna sell. The MCU, Marvel in general, doesn't need to worry about selling tickets anymore, which I think gives them some leeway to be really creative with their marketing. You know, yes, it comes out later this year, but we didn't need the trailer when it did. I think maybe at the end of Endgame, you know, maybe that after credit scene could have been the trailer. I just don't think it was time for it yet, because like I said, even though, yeah, we know Peter Parker's fine, we didn't really 100% know that he was, or how he was, or if anything would drastically change because of what's going to happen in Endgame. But now we know that he kind of goes back to what seems to be a very normal life. I mean, as normal as it can get for Peter Parker. But, you know, I didn't want to see it yet. You know, it's not a spoiler, but it is in a weird way. So the trailer itself, I mean, the trailer as a trailer was fine. Like I say, it was a little underwhelming. I didn't love that Mysterio is seeming like an anti-hero. Like, I just wanted him to be the villain. I wanted Jake Gyllenhaal to be a good villain. And it looks like they're going the anti-hero route, which I'm not huge about, but like I could have got over. I just think the main thing is I wasn't really watching it the way I should have been because I didn't want to see it yet. It wasn't time for that yet, I feel. And yeah, so that's, like I said, not a full review, but just my general thoughts on it, because it was a big trailer that came out, and it came out during my hiatus, so I didn't get to get my thoughts out on it, but that's it. It just wasn't time for it. I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more if it had come after Endgame. But what did you think? Did you like the Spider-Man trailer? Were you ready for it? Did you like Captain Marvel? How do you feel about this new casting news? Let me know in the comments, and of course, as always, if you like this video and you want to see more, click that like button, click the subscribe button, and join me next week for another episode of Trailer Park. Bye, everybody.